there, friends. Welcome back to Second Star to the Left. I'm Michelle, and this is my daughter, Billy.
Hi.
And here's where we'll share board game reviews, ramblings, and a few wrong turns along the scenic route. Welcome back. It's been a little while since our last video. We had a bit of COVID scare and work's been geflooey. And we are going to be back to finish up Roll and Write month, but we wanted to jump in with this because Dwayne and Alicia over at Blackboard Gaming challenged us to do the Alphabet Challenge from Rolling Reggie. Two great channels, Blackboard Gaming and Rolling Reggie, and I will put their links down below, so make sure that you hop over and subscribe and say hi.
I helped you make the list, but I don't remember most of what's going to be coming. Once you say it, I'll be like, oh yeah, we picked that. But each one will be a kind of surprise to me.
So Billy's going to be surprised by the list too. So we're going to pick a game for each letter of the alphabet, and yes, we are going to do the entire alphabet. We didn't always pick our favorite games from that letter unless we could just not help ourselves. But we picked some that we don't talk about as much, or some that we haven't played in a little while and want to remind ourselves that they're good and we should get them to the table. So let's get started right off the bat. Letter A. Do you remember what we picked? Of course you picked your favorites.
All right, what?
Do you remember what we picked for A? We picked Azul Queen's Garden. Now we could have picked the regular one, and we do love the original Azul, but yes. I really love Azul Queen's Garden. I like the extra puzzle. I like placing I don't know what shape they are. The base tiles that you put the other tiles on. So, you have you're looking at me like I'm crazy. You place the gardens to put the tiles on to surround
You forgot the names of shapes?
No, I don't know what shape it makes when you put a bunch of hexy things in a circle around another hexy thing.
Bigger hex.
It isn't, though. Is it? Oh no, I might have to cut all this out.
I think you should.
We picked Queen's Garden because I really like the extra puzzle of it. It does not actually feel like original Azul. It is much different. Mm-hmm. The only complaint I have is that the colors are really close. The light green, dark green, light purple, dark purple. Mm-hmm. Kind of gets confusing, but otherwise, this is probably the one I'm most likely to play if we're up here grabbing one of the Azuls to play. Mm-hmm. Remember how we said we weren't going to pick our favorites for a letter? Well, there was zero chance that B was going to get by without us picking a favorite. And since Billy said Button Shy doesn't count as a game...
Yeah, you can't pick Button Shy.
We chose the B game that we love the most, and that is Botnik.
Yeah.
So if you've watched us anytime in the last year or so...
Actually, it might have been a while since we last talked about it.
That's
a shame.
Which is why we put it on the list again.
Yeah.
Botnik is this amazing little 2-player tile placement pattern building game where you're drafting pieces of a machine from the middle that will help you build a device that will save the world by planting vegetables and flowers. So you're going to score points for colors that you have connected, for the most flowers on your machine, for fruits and vegetables that you planted. This is one of our absolute favorite 2-player games, and we haven't played it recently enough. If you know us, you know that we are always open to play Botnik. I am always hoping for the day that I hear an announcement that I will be able to play it on BGA, and then you'll probably not get me to stop playing it on BGA. I love this little game. It's in the same size box as like Jaipur or a small card game, so it's easy to bring somewhere when we go.
Isn't it from the same people as Jaipur?
It is from the same people as Jaipur. I also have never shown this to someone and not had them go buy a copy, which is high praise for a little tiny tile placement game. So Botnik was B. C is another favorite. Sometimes we just can't help ourselves, and that we're coming out of Roll and Write month, and flip and write, roll and write. C is Castle Party. Woo! I love Castle Party. And those are the most adorable cards ever, going to the most adorable monster party ever, which takes place in a castle, since in the last video I didn't know where it took place, and you mocked me. You have little square cards in your hand with adorable monsters on them, and you flip a card that has kind of a Tetris shape on it, and then you build those out of those square cards to draw onto your board. The thing is, you can't rotate the shape like you can in most games like that, which means you can be a little bit mean at this party and make sure that someone's guests wind up in the moat. I love this game. I wouldn't be surprised to see that it showed up when we did our top 10 roll and write lists. Who knows?
That was a good one. What's next?
D is up. And Billy chose this one.
I did?
Yes, you did.
What did I choose?
For sentimental reasons.
I remember now.
What did you choose?
Dominion.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, I did.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, I did.
No, you didn't.
The sentimental one. Yeah, it was.
No, it wasn't.
What did
You picked Duke.
Duke.
Not that you don't love Dominion.
We were talking about Dominion, though.
Yes.
That's what I remember.
Dominion is one of the first games we ever got, and still a favorite. Billy loves Dominion.
I do.
Duke is an abstract game, kind of chess-like, where you move your piece and then flip it over. So you have 2 moves for each piece, and you have to plan ahead so that when you move one tile, you know what that next movement's going to be. And you can either move your piece on the board or draw another piece out of the bag to add to your squad. I don't know what's on the board. Squadron, team, line, battle guys. I don't know. It's pretty abstract.
Army?
Oh, yeah. Sure. Army. Duke is a game that we shared with my dad.
I play with Grampy all the time.
Yeah, and Billy gets to go and play with Grampy. We have a set here and we have a set at their house, so it is very sentimental to Billy that she gets to do that with my dad and play Duke. It's also a really great abstract game, so if you like abstract games, it's a really fun one to check out. E is another Billy pick, and I said we didn't pick our favorites, but I think we just might have.
Yeah.
What's E, Billy?
I don't remember.
Wow, what's your favorite game, Billy?
Evolution. I have a really bad memory. This feels like bullying.
It's bullying.
Oh.
Evolution is one of Billy's favorite games, although I think maybe Oceans
yeah,
beat it out.
It's right up there with it either way.
In Evolution, you're creating species and giving them different traits and abilities, and then letting them loose to populate and also maybe get eaten by carnivores. So you can give your species the ability to burrow underground, and maybe they're really good at hiding from something that's going to attack them. Or maybe they're carnivores and you just give them more strength or more speed. And then each round you have to be able to feed your entire population or they start to die off. It is a really, really fun game. There's a ton of interaction from player to player, because, you know, your critters can eat the critters next to you. We played a ton of this game.
Yes.
We haven't played it in a long time, though. I think this list is really good for reminding us what we need to go back and play.
Yeah, turns out lots of stuff.
Maybe we should play these games. We are doing the alphabet challenge on BG Stats, but I think that that's just auto-populating, so it's not necessarily this list.
What's next, Mom?
Next is my pick, and you didn't think you were getting through this list without Button Shy Games, and my pick for F is Food Chain Island, which, now that I think of it, seems a lot like Evolution. We just have animals eating each other. Food Chain Island is a little solitaire card game from Button Shy Games, where you are just having the animals eat other animals, and their cards are numbered. Higher cards eat lower cards. So you're trying to arrange your cards strategically so that you can wind up with just one pile of cards left. That is very difficult to do, but you get a little help from, you know, some extra critters on the side. I love this game. I've probably played it more than any other Button Shy game, and that is a great claim, since
it's really saying something.
I played it all the time. I think there was one month where I played it like 20 something times and just kept sitting down and going, I can beat this. I absolutely love this game. It was one of the first Button Shy games that I got. It is still one of the first ones that I reach for whenever
Still one of the first ones I got.
It is still one of the ones I reach for whenever I want to play something solo and very quick. Absolutely, highly recommend Food Chain Island and its little expansions for anybody that wants to try Button Shy. G is another Billy pick.
Is it?
Yes, it is. It is the game that Billy asks for recently more than any other game.
Oh, yeah. I always forget it starts with a G.
It is Guild of Merchant Explorers. It is Billy's favorite travel by map game. We got it at Gen Con. It was one of the first games that we played when we got home, and you loved it immediately. It was probably my biggest surprise from last year. I thought it looked interesting, but when I played it, I just kind of fell in love with it. It's kind of like a flip and write with no writing, right? Because you flip the cards over for your move, but then you're placing down these little cubes to form your trade routes on the map. I love this game. It's really easy to learn. The rules overhead is pretty minimal, and once you get going, it's quick to play. H, we cheated, and there's 2.
We did?
Yeah, we did.
What are they?
We didn't pick. We did not pick from the original or from American Monsters. H is Horrified, which we play mostly during spooky season, but I think that game kind of crosses the line into the rest of the year as well. Horrified is an amazing co-op game, which is something that you don't hear us say that much because we don't play a lot of co-op games. I think I prefer the American Monsters one where you're kind of
we grew up with like cryptids and stuff and reading lots of Weird New Jersey.
Yes, and also it has a Jersey Devil in it. So
did you grow up with Weird New Jersey?
No, I grew up in Weird New Jersey.
But
for the record, Weird New Jersey is a magazine.
Oh yeah, the people from not New Jersey might watch this.
Weird New Jersey is a magazine that talks about all the very strange and quirky things that happen in this state, as well as all of the supposedly supernatural things that happen in the state, including the Jersey Devil. And all of that happened, here where I grew up. In Horrified, you're working together to defeat a certain number of monsters depending on the level that you want to play the game at. So if you want an easier game, you battle fewer monsters, and if you want a more difficult game, you battle more monsters.
And there are harder monsters and easier monsters.
And the way that you defeat them is by...
It's different for each one.
Yeah. And there's
each
a
monster
little...
has like a different way of beating it.
And they each have a different kind of puzzle that you have to solve while you're trying to save the townspeople by basically pick up and deliver. You just grab a townsperson and put them where they're supposed to be. Or
like
use
the
them as
soda jerk.
Soda jerk.
This still doesn't seem like a real thing.
It's a real thing. You can also use them as kind of human shields, which, that's what they get for
It's not advisable.
around.
You do lose if you lose enough people.
For I, we have our first Uwe Rosenberg game, and that's Indian Summer.
Yeah, I love that game.
Indian
it has
Summer?
good vibes.
It was one of our first, polyomino games.
Mm-hmm.
One of the first ones. We saw that at PAX East on a demo table and bought it immediately. I think we bought it before we tried it, and then we sat down and tried it. It's beautiful fall foliage and little fall critters, and you're saving up berries and just trying to complete your grids, plural, of polyomino shapes. And every time you complete one, you get some bonus scoring. It's kind of a race to make sure you fill yours before someone else fills theirs, and you're drafting the tiles from around the board. It's beautiful. It's classic polyomino game, if there's such a thing. And visually, it's just gorgeous. So it's one of our favorites to take out and play if we want to just grab a kind of straightforward polyomino game. J is for a game that Billy has never lost.
Yeah.
J is for Jaipur, which is, again, by Space Cowboys, which gave us Botnik. And it's a 2-player card game about trading goods, collecting sets, and camels. Jaipur is really just about set collection, about beating people to the higher trade values, and strategic use of camels. It's a great 2-player card game. It's quick and it's fun, and you can play it over and over, and it's still challenging. For K, I was going to put King Domino Duel, but
you're a cheater.
I didn't
and I
cheat.
will never play that with you again.
But since I apparently will not be playing that ever again, I decided to go with one of the newer games on this list, and that's Keystone North America. In Keystone North America, you are building out this grid of animals and trying to make habitats that complement each other and that have a keystone animal. It's one of those games where you're optimizing, in this case, card placement, not tile placement, to get the best combos and the best scores. The art on this is really beautiful. I played this one with my sister, who's a big outdoors person.
Big nature fan.
Big nature fan. And she loved it. It was easy enough for us to just sit down and learn together. But as soon as we finished, I definitely wanted to play it again once I kind of got the idea of how all the cards worked. So it's the kind of game where it's got low rules overhead, but plenty of room to improve your strategy. And I love those kinds of games. I love those kind of build a grid, get the best score kind of games. L is a game that a year ago was in our top 5, and yet we probably haven't played for at least 6 months. And that is Land vs. Sea.
Oh, yeah.
Land vs. Sea is a straight up tile placement game. And all you do on your turn is take a tile and place a tile. That's it. The strategy comes where you play either land or sea, but if you're me, you never play sea because it's way harder.
It's the same.
It's not the same. You're trying to close off areas of land or sea and keep your opponent from doing that as well. It has these tiny little medieval images on it, fantastical map images, little dragons, and there's pirate ships. And this game, like I said, it's just take a tile, place a tile, and yet it feels so much more intense than that when you're up leaning over the table for just like trying to make sure that you can close off this area and score all the points and trying to make sure your opponent cannot. Love this game, and I'm very sad that we haven't played it. So
yeah, we probably should play it more.
Yeah, that's why I put it on this list, so I could be, hey, it's right over there. We should go play
something of a theme with this list.
Yeah, it seems to be. For M, we have Medium, which is a game about being psychic. Or not. We are terrible at this game.
Try to remember the examples.
But it seems to me that being terrible at this game made it even more fun. In Medium, 2 people get a pair of words and they have to think of the word that would connect those words together. And then you count down and you both say what it is that you were thinking. And if it's the same word, yay team, you won. And if it's 2 different words, then you then have to try and guess a word that connects those 2 different words together. It is amazing how far apart you can be with these words. And sometimes you just take off in the wrong direction completely, and trying to get this thing back on track is really entertaining. We are terrible psychics, but we love this game. N was easy, didn't even have to think about it. It is my favorite game, and I'm pretty sure will remain my favorite game in this list, but no spoilers. That list is coming. And we did have a second Uwe game, and that is New York Zoo.
Oh, yeah.
New York Zoo is a game about filling up a board with polyomino shapes and about breeding tiny little zoo animals while you go around this track and try and keep your opponent from doing that. It is kind of a race game because the first person to fill their board wins. But in order to fill your board, you have to be smart about breeding your animals to get more spaces and about picking up the right shapes around the track so that you can complete those tasks and adding attractions into your tiny little New York Zoo. It's my favorite game. I don't know what else I can say about it except it was the first video we ever made.
It was the first 1.5 videos we ever made.
Yes, episode 1.5. It was the It was the first video we ever made. We loved it enough that that's why we started doing this. And I still would play it anytime anyone asked. I love it solo, 2
Let's
people,
play right
3
now.
people.
Stop recording.
Well, don't be crazy.
You said anytime.
Finish the video. It's adorable. There's meerkat meeples. What more could you want?
It's got lots of little animeeples. They're
It
so
does.
good.
It has a whole box of animeeples. Obviously, I love this game as it was my top game from last year. It might just be my top game from this year. You don't know yet.
It will be. Let's be real.
Spoilers. For O, I wanted to pick Orleans. But Billy had a different idea. So we're going to pick a different game that's kind of like another game we picked.
Oceans.
And that's Oceans.
Oceans.
The underwater version of Evolution.
Best game.
They did streamline a bunch of things and make it a little bit smoother of a game, but it's the same concept where you're creating species that kind of either feed off of other species or are the food for other species. And you have to make sure that they're fed and that they don't overpopulate and you just have to kind of take care of your ocean, which is a great theme. Also, we got the really nifty acrylic fish for it too.
We're very fancy.
They are very fancy. This is one of, if not Billy's favorite game.
Yes.
Again, spoilers. For P, we have another one that was in our top 5 last year, and that is Paris, la Cité de Lumière. Yeah, I know it's Paris, la Cité de Lumière, but Billy's making fun of me. So we're going to be like Paris, the city of lights. That's what we have there. It is a dual layer polyomino game where you're setting up this base cobblestone grid while drafting polyomino shapes that you will hopefully be able to put onto this grid based on your color. And at the same time, you're trying to draft the polyomino shapes away from your opponent who's trying to set up their next move. This is a mean polyomino game, but it is gorgeous.
Do we play any other kind?
Not so much. Even we play the nice ones mean. Again, was in our top 5 last year. I don't know that it will fall that far. And everyone I've showed it to has also wanted to play it again. So great little game. And you play right in the box, which is super nice. So when you're done, you just put it away. Q was kind of an easy choice because we don't have a big list of Q games. And one of the other ones that we haven't played yet. So Q is for Quacks of Quedlinburg.
Yes, it is.
You know we haven't played this since I upgraded all the pieces.
I forgot you upgraded them. I don't think I've ever seen the upgrades.
We got all the nice clicky-clacky pieces and the storage boxes and everything. Quacks is a bag-building, push-your-luck game, and I haven't played it in a while. I mean, we like I just said, we upgraded all the pieces because we liked it enough, but we don't pull it out that often because I tend to want to play this with people who haven't played a lot of things yet because it's easy enough to get into, but still really fun to keep, reaching in and see if you blow up your potion. And that's all you're doing is making a potion and hoping it doesn't explode. It's really kind of a simple theme, but it's really pretty and it's a really great game to introduce people to. R is one that I had a really hard time choosing because I had a bunch that I wanted to choose and Billy wouldn't let me. So I would have chosen Railroad Inc. or Rove from Button Shy, another solo puzzle game. But Billy said that we could not have this list and do R if we didn't choose Res Arcana.
Yeah, that's true.
I think that Billy loves Res much more than I do, but I still love this game. It's just an engine building game that it just works. Res is a game that I just don't win ever. And I think that might be why Billy loves it more than me. I think I've won once. We play it all the time, and I love playing it. I love getting the little engine going so that we can get the sacred places.
There's probably my favorite engine builder. Furnace is close.
I think Furnace might be my favorite engine builder.
But for me, it's Res. Mostly just because of how often we play it with Jeff and Jamie, I think.
We do tend to play this quite often with Jeff and Jamie. It's a great little fantasy-themed engine builder. And it's nice and compact. And even with the expansions, it's still a nice little box. And it has a great table presence. For all that we play it on BGA.
It's got these big chunky cards and it's so good.
Tiles, the places are just these big chunky cardboard tiles. It has a little tray that holds all of the other pieces for it.
It's little components and such.
It's really done well. Great little engine builder, and I was not allowed to pick any other R game, so R is for Res Arcana. S is for another Button Shy game. S is for Skulls of Sedlec, which I made a whole video on because I love this little game. I mostly play it solo, and now I can play it with the Dig and Write expansion, so now it's just this little flip and write that I play. But I love it at 2-player too. I have every expansion for this game, and you are just stacking skulls to get the most points. And that sounds like it might be kind of
morbid and creepifying.
Dark, but the skulls are cute. Some of the skulls have tiny little flowers or hearts. I love all the expansions that change the scoring conditions just enough to keep it interesting and to refresh it, but not enough to change the actual feel of the game. I love the Dig and Write. I love playing it solo. When you play it with another person, you're drafting a card with 2 skulls on it, and you're putting it into this nice little stack of skulls to score the most points based on what they're connected to. In the same way that I love those grid games where you're optimizing where the the cards go. It's the same thing, but with skulls in a pyramid. Great little game. If you want to know more about that, you can check out the video that we did. For tea, we have That Old Wallpaper, which was a game that I was so excited about before we went to Gen Con last year that I kept reaching out to the ever so kind Nathan Thornton just to be able to talk to him and to see a copy. That we got to come home with a copy of That Old Wallpaper for Gen Con was probably my favorite thing. And it was the first game that hit the table as soon as we got home. You are building out this beautiful retro patterned old wallpaper like you would have seen in your grandparents' house and matching patterns to get the best score.
It's a pretty game. It reminds me of at Disney, the
Primetime Dine-In.
Yeah.
The drafting is really interesting in this one too, as you're kind of using the cards in your hand that are numbered 1 to 10 to bet on which card you can draft. And your opponent also has cards 1 to 10, but you're only drawing them up 5 at a time, so you kind of know what your opponent has the ability to bid, but you also kind of don't know. I love that. I like the pattern buildings that you have to have both a big version and a little version of each color to score. So you have to keep managing which patterns that you're matching on the wallpaper. It's a beautiful, thinky little puzzle that just gives me such fond memories of vacations and visiting people, and I cannot recommend this one enough. You is a teensy bit of a cheat because we're not picking one game. We're picking...
we kind of are.
It's a system of games. We're picking Unmatched.
That counts.
And we have all of the Unmatched now.
We do.
Except for Bruce Lee. What's your favorite? Quick, I'm putting you on the spot.
Buffy. T-Rex is a close second.
My favorite one to play is probably Deadpool, but my second favorite set is probably Cobble and Fog. Since Deadpool isn't a set, it's a single character that you would play. We are looking forward to the crowdfunding campaign that has all the storage cubes so that we can fill a shelf full of unmatched characters and then just pull them out one by one. I'm
so excited about that.
It's a card battling game on a map, and you can mix and match all of the sets to play whichever.
Sherlock Holmes fights a T-Rex, or Moon Knight fights Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
I think we might try to do a tournament in March. We'll see how it goes. Now that we have all of the characters, we might try and put them all together and do a tournament. We'll let you know. V is for Village Rails. This was a tough one. I wanted to pick Verdant too, but we've talked about it.
Yeah.
Village Rails is another of those grid building, optimize your score games. I think, is there a name for that? Because that is definitely probably my favorite kind of game, right?
I don't know.
You're building out a grid that creates a number of train routes, and you're meeting objectives that you've placed along the edge. You're drafting these from the center based on how much value they have. So if you don't save up enough money that you've made from your routes, then you have to get the cheapest card out there. This one has so much game packed into this tiny box, and it takes over the table. It's a great little puzzle to solve. You liked this one, right?
I love Village Rails.
Yeah. I've shown this to a couple of people, and most people have picked it up pretty quickly, and it just kind of makes a certain kind of sense the way that you're building out these train routes. Great little game, tiny little box, Village Rails. When we wrote this list down, I was all set for W, and it was going to be Whirling Witchcraft. But now I spend the morning playing Wonder Tales from Button Shy, so I think it's both. I haven't played enough Wonder Tales.
I haven't even seen Wonder Tales yet. You did not show me.
Because I was playing solo with the Rumpelstiltskin. Wonder Tales is another put the cards in a grid, score the best that you can kind of game based on fairy tale books that have been torn apart and now you have to put them back together. So it's a theme that I love, art that's adorable, a company that I will always support. So I will talk a lot more about Wonder Tales coming up. Whirling Witchcraft is a game that we really enjoy that came out a couple of years back, I think. Kind of hard.
It didn't. Time doesn't exist anymore.
You have these cute little cauldrons and you're making potions, and you do that by engine building to make sure that you can produce the right ingredients to put in your potion, and then anything that overflows gets shoved to your neighbor, which is in the end going to be what lets you win, is you kind of overflow your neighbor's ability to contain these ingredients. It's really cute. It's really clever. Sadly, I think we only play it during spooky season. We should probably let this one creep out into the rest of the year because I really enjoy this one. X. We do have an X game.
Uh-huh.
It's X-Wing. the Star Wars miniature game, which is the only miniature skirmish game that I will actually play without arguing. What I mean is the kind of game where you're like measuring out your moves with a ruler, right? Like tabletop RPG kind of games where you have a little ruler and you're like, okay, it's going to move 3 measurements to the left. Oh yeah, and I'm terrible at maps, so my little spaceships
always crash into the asteroids and fly off the map.
Wind up in the wrong part of the map because you're programming your moves a couple turns ahead.
Which I really love. I like when you program your moves ahead of time. It's very fun.
And they're hidden, so like I'll program 3 hidden moves so my entire squadron gets their moves assigned, and then Billy's first move means that the rest of my moves are garbage. It's a lot of fun, and we have so many ships. And now we have the second edition to upgrade things too. So
right, we
probably have to get moving.
We gotta make like a whole day of it. We just bust out all the ships, cover the table, and just put it all back together as second edition. It's
really well themed in a way that feels like you're playing Star Wars. It's really not tacked on at all. It feels like you're fighting and flying around and shooting.
I make the little engine noises and the pew pew pew.
Yeah, you have to go whoosh and pew pew, or the game doesn't work.
Or else you lose.
Those are the rules. The only letter on this list that we really struggled with was Y.
Why is that?
Oh, really? And the only game we came up with was Yahtzee, which we do own, so it is not cheating. And Yahtzee is Yahtzee, but we have it in a couple of themes.
We do.
We have your basic Yahtzee, and we have Nightmare Before Christmas Yahtzee, and we have Zelda Yahtzee. So there you go. Yahtzee. Roll the dice, count your score, put it on the sheet. And lastly, that brings us to Z, because A, B, C, D, E, F, G, because we know the song. We have 2. I hate that we're ending on these. That's what I'm going to say. But we have to apparently end on Z. One is...
Couldn't have stuck Z in the middle somewhere.
Move it up because we don't want to end on this. One is a game called Zephyr, which is a pick up and deliver game about airships that I wish we loved more.
It looks like everything I would love in a board game with the customizable airships and the cool like diesel punk style, and it's all very exciting and cool. But we just haven't been able to get it to work. We've struggled with the instructions, right?
Yeah, the rules are very difficult and they don't make a lot of sense. I've watched a bunch of videos and it's just never clicked for us. We've put it on the table a couple of times.
It might just be us.
It might be. Sometimes games are not a good fit, and that's not to say that it's not a good game. I just think, sadly, it's not a good game for us. You got to, you could have your captain have a companion because they were clear cards that you could kind of stack.
Yeah, it was so cool.
Like Gloom. We wanted to love this game. That said, our other option would be Zombie Dice. That's the only other Z game that we had, which is just a press your luck.
Kind of predates us being board game people.
Yeah, this is something we used to just bring to restaurants, and you just roll zombies and hope that people escape, or there's shotgun blasts that get the zombies. It's just a press your luck dice game. That's all it is. We have all the expansions. There was a cheerleader and a football player, and I think there might have even been Santa. I don't really remember. We haven't played this in a very long time. It's a great, simple, little game.
And it starts with Z.
So we have made it through the entire song now. Thank you so much to Dwayne and Alicia for tagging us in this. We're just going to tag anyone who feels like running through the alphabet for a while. We would love to see you give it a try. We promise that we're going to finish out rolling into the new year. We have 2 more videos to share with you, and they're coming up very soon. If you like what you see,
or if you'd like to keep watching until we get one right,
then please like, subscribe, and share. As always, open tables, open minds, and play yourselves.
Bye! We could have printed it, written it out. There's just so many better systems you could use.
I'm using this system.
It's a bad system.
It's what we're going with.
Okay, so we're going with a bad system.
Yes.
What happens if you put a circle around a smaller circle?
That's not how this works. It doesn't have 6 sides anymore because it goes all around it.
Huh.
Woo! Yeah. This is...
least enthusiastic rule.
Woo! Is that better? I'm enthusiastic.
Well, whatever you have in chess. Is that an army? Because there's like a bishop and...
I don't know.
What even is a
They're
rook?
little dudes on the board. It's a castle. It's a little castle.
Why does the castle move then?
It's a magic castle. Don't ask me about the theme of chess.
You're supposed to know about chess. We also have Dice Tron themed Yahtzee.
Do we?
It's called Dice Tron.
No, that's just no.